Doesn't it say that in Hebrews? Not just under his feet. It said he destroyed him in Hebrews. But the thing is, he's got to be destroyed. Yeah. And all and every one of us have to have the experience within us. That's why the gospel has to become within you. The kingdom's within you, is because what the kingdom's doing is it's a realization within you is that you have to come to an end of yourself. That's your last days of your stuff. So it's not you that liveth. It's like Paul said. It's the Christ that liveth in me, not I that liveth. So what's Paul saying? I don't exist. Right? Paul doesn't. That's why Sunday the Scripture said, let's go ahead and if one waters, one plants. And what did Paul say? He slipped it in. He said, he that waters and plants are nothing. What's he saying? They're nothing. They don't exist. But it's God that gives the increase. And then he goes, you will receive a reward according to what you did in your body. He spoke it in a mystery. He said, but really he says, but you are laborers together with God. If you really see it by revelation. What he was saying, your reward is, if you understand this and not try to receive it upon yourself as an individual, has you doing the work, and has it being you. He says you're co-laborers together. So when God did it, you're included in that.
Co-creators.
So you're in that. He's considering you in Him. So we have to pull down, allow those strongholds to be pulled down, because it says it's mighty through what? Him, doesn't it? In that scripture, that 10:4. So it's mighty through God in the pulling down of strongholds. Is that how it goes? Imaginations? So imaginary things, shadows and imaginations that we have of thoughts and all this. We have 3,000 of them a day, according to Buick. 3,000 thoughts are 3,000 thoughts coming out of us that are not necessarily true, but they create images that we start believing even about ourselves, about other people, and about God and about that. So God, that's why He's got to relieve those things and put the mind of Christ. So it's not, see, we look at things and situations even amongst each other. We're saying so-and-so's doing this and so-and-so's doing that. But God says it doesn't matter what so-and-so's doing. When tomorrow comes, it'll be over. There's a change. Have you ever been through something? I know I experienced it through my change that something seems so bad, and then 3 hours later it's like, God, this thing is actually over. Because I built up so bad in my mind, or such a stressful situation, because it seems stressful, but really the next day it was over, and it's really not a big deal any longer. So really it's dead. So if it was dead, it never really was. Right? God is the God of the living, not the dead. Right? Matthew 25 and 31. I just have a couple of parables I wanted to share. I just felt God gave me a word I was going to do, a little revel. And He kind of just gave me 2 words, and then one, late last night, He said, don't go there yet. And He gave me this about 3 or 4 in the morning. Because the thing about us is we are being pressed for a purpose in God. And as long as we're in the realm of suffering, God is doing something to us to make us suffer, so we don't have... The suffering is the frustration. Through the frustration. So we can grow through the suffering. Learn your obedience by the things you suffer. And what's the obedience? It's you're coming into more of the knowledge of God. You're coming into a God realm where you can have the mind of Christ. And I think even later in that, it may not be that chapter, but I think it says, who shall instruct him? The scripture talks about who shall teach, who's going to instruct Christ. He said, and then Paul says, but we have the mind of Christ. Right? That's right. So we're coming into having the mind of Christ. That's why he said, greater work shall we do. And and we have to understand, well, we think greater works, right away we go to our natural, He raised dead, He healed the sick, so we're going to have more miracles in Him. He did all those natural miracles and none followed. It was only the 12. What he was saying, I'm going to do a spiritual work which is going to be the greater work. Right? If I raise your dead, if I heal your inner lame, if I heal your sick within, if, all these things, I'm doing that, that's a greater work, but it's not seen by the eyes of men to observe necessarily.
Right.
Because if they don't know it, they can't observe something that is not a reality to them. That's where you guys came to places like this. When Jesus told, what did he tell? He said, Peter. Peter was always doing this. Think about it. Read about Peter. He's always saying things. And Jesus was always what? Correcting him, right? So one day he's telling him, no, I'm not going to deny you 3 times. I never would do that. And he says, get thee behind me, Satan. Didn't he say that? So he called Peter Satan. What he was doing is looking at Peter's thought process where Peter was speaking from, and he's saying, you speak from the carnality of your ego, which is Satan. And why he said, get thee behind me, is that thought process doesn't go before me in my understanding, so it's got to get behind me. What you're talking is not where I, abide at. Because you're already denying me. I told you the truth. You're telling me you're not going to do it. You're already denying. But Peter didn't understand that. Couldn't comprehend that.
He doesn't even know he's a liar.
Yeah. The father of liars, yeah. So what happened? Is denial. So it's like when he came back, the lady at the well, I just love the lady at the well. God has been revelating more on the lady at the well. She left her water pot, which meant she left all the thoughts she had where the water went before she went to the well. Her thoughts in the water pot is, this is where I fill up my water to get my water to drink. When she met Jesus and his understanding came, and he explained to him about the 5 or 6 wives and the one you're with now, and that the water you'll never thirst again, she did not take that water pot with her back to the city she came from. Representing, I don't take those old thoughts with me in the container that it goes in, which is ego. Yeah, the man already broke down that I had 5 husbands, and the one I'm with now is not my husband, meaning my 5 senses I'm not married to, and my 6th one I'm with now, the carnality, he's not married. I'm not married and akin to him either. So she goes, you must be a prophet. So what does she do through this? Then she said, you must be the Messiah. After a little bit more gets revealed, then she leaves the water pot. Meaning the thing that I used to contain, everything in my history that I used to believe that I couldn't drink with a Jew, that only in this mountain could people worship, only in this city could people worship. Because remember, through this he told her, in the mountain and in Jerusalem, no one will worship there, but only in spirit and truth. The day is now and coming. 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 The day is now and coming that men will not worship in that city that you used to think was a city or the mountain to worship in. So what did she do? The lady said, everything that I used to believe in, all my concepts, precepts, thoughts, I don't take that container no more. I'm leaving it here. I've got my water pot filled within, and I'm going back into my city with the true water pot. Make sense?
Yes.
25:31. It says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. So it says, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and with all his holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. When you start realizing that he's sitting upon your throne within you, that you're that glory that he's talking about sharing with you, he is coming back with all his glory and all his angels. All those messages reside in it. It's within you. And those messages represent thoughts. Because he wants to change through the messengers or the angels, wants to change your thought process. Not to think the same anymore. Don't look at the situation that dictates. And it's okay if you have and going through it. It's good because we all have. But there's another enlightenment or realm that we walk into where we can walk in a place